Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks, where we meet with the top thought strategists and leaders in emerging technologies, digital assets, regulatory landscape, and capital markets. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, and joining me on the desk at the Nasdaq market site is Marlon Lindsay, founder and CEO of 21st Ed, David Adefeso, founder and CEO of Sootchy, and Bevon Joseph, financial education advisor to New York City Department of Education, and he's also with Campus Coin Invest. We're here to discuss the future of work in a rapidly changing technology-driven economy and preparing young people in New York City and throughout in financial literacy and entrepreneurial education. Gentlemen, it's great to have you here. Bevon, you, as always, one of my favorite topics on Trade Talks. Let's go around the horn here first. We'll start with you, Marlon. Tell us about 21st Ed.
So 21st Ed is a company that works with STEM school systems to infuse STEM onto their traditional education. AI, automation, robotics is changing the way we live, work, and play, and we haven't infused that into our system, STEM education, early enough. So we talk about infusing STEM early, often, and everywhere, including financial literacy as a part of STEM.
And David, Sootchy?
Sootchy does three things. Number one, provides access to children. Number two, it provides financial literacy for those kids. And number three, it provides the money for those kids to get a higher education, college or trade, or purchase a first home, or start a business.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up outside of college as well. And Bevon, you have a lot going on since we spoke last?
Yeah. So for the last decade, I've been at the intersection of like work and school. So really introducing kids to careers in finance, fintech, focus on financial literacy as well, but also entrepreneurial education as well. I really want to help kids prepare for the world of work or entrepreneurship, but really be financially literate at the same time, you know?
So where do the three of you intersect?
So we all met in New York this year, brought together by a project in South Queens with the New York City Department of Education, financial literacy and entrepreneurship education for young people, high school 6 through 12, right? Grade 6 through 12. And what we did here is, he has a curriculum with 21st Century Ed. David has participated with Sootchy as well too. But our goal was really to take a holistic approach when talking about financial education, right? We know about the lack of access and opportunity. Again, I sit between Wall Street, so to speak, and the school system, really bringing Wall Street to the conversation, right? We also focus on helping kids build social capital as well, to build mentors, opportunities, internships, apprenticeships. But again, the curriculum was super important, right? So what his team was doing was really bringing that into the schools, and we had the opportunity through our Wall Street partners to also inform that curriculum. So in Queens, we're taking that holistic approach, like we're saying. We don't feel like there's a one-fit-all, size-fit-all for the program. 16 schools right now, going to about 30 plus in 2025. Our goal is to take this across the city eventually.
Marlon, you brought up an interesting point where STEM, it's not something that you can just do away with because you want to introduce financial literacy. And I think that makes sense, but if you can't balance a basic checkbook, if people still use those, manage your debt, manage your credit, how can you even get to thinking about engineering and mathematics? I think it's important to be able to infuse that, as you said.
Absolutely. So, when we think about STEM, we think about the discrete disciplines, science, technology, engineering, and math. That math piece is really important, and it's not just the math that you learn in the classroom. So functional financial literacy is really essential for any student to walk around in life. And so as we think about STEM, we include financial literacy, we include entrepreneurship, because STEM is a great way for students to do, we think, 6 things. That's really essential. To think creatively, to collaborate, to communicate, and to think creatively, collaborate, communicate. And I forgot the four C's, but the essential point is this: problem find and problem solve, right? And so when we can help them do that, whether it's through STEM or anything else, we're giving them foundational knowledge, foundational understanding to explore life, whether it's financial literacy or financial intelligence, right. as David talks about. It's these fundamental skills that they can use to navigate life. If we can do that, our kids are going to be okay.
Yeah, well, and that's a great, I love that term. We were talking about this off camera before, David, financial intelligence, and to your point before, it isn't just about getting from, a one-size-fits-all solution. Not everyone has to go to college. There is trade, there's mortgages and so forth, but you have to be able to manage that across the spectrum.
Jill, we have a crisis in America. And that crisis is affecting us on the highest levels. We're falling behind in so many ways. Productivity is slowing down. We're falling behind in robotics, nuclear fusion. We're falling behind in artificial intelligence. We're falling behind in clean energy. I mean, Elon Musk said, look, if we didn't subsidize the founder, in America of EVs. If we didn't subsidize EVs, we'd be out of business in America. Why? Because the Chinese are better at it than us. They're flooding our markets. Why? Because we have fallen behind. Why? Because of lack of productivity. Why? Because if you go all the way back, when you go through K through 12, we're not doing the things that we need to do to get our kids intelligent enough. Now, what does intelligence mean? We talk about financial literacy. Financial literacy is basically understanding the tools that are necessary to have a good financial life, right? Budgeting, finance, investing, using credit properly. Financial intelligence is slightly different, right? I'll give you an example. Well, financial intelligence, let's define intelligence. Intelligence is acquiring knowledge and applying that knowledge. To gain knowledge and apply it, you need to be able to think. Financial intelligence is basically how do we help kids think better about financial things and financial tools. Give you an example. Okay, so you pick up your paycheck and it says you made $3,000, but you only took $2,000 home. What happened? Social Security, Medicare, federal income taxes. Well, let's talk about these federal income taxes. How do I reduce my federal income taxes, right? It goes beyond looking at your paycheck. Well, maybe you should contribute more to your 401k. That helps your retirement. What does a retirement mean? If I don't put money into my retirement, what else is there for retirement? Social Security. Yikes, Social Security, which is coming out of my paycheck, may not be there in 9 years. So maybe I should save more. Financial intelligence is the ability to apply financial skills in your everyday life in a way that goes above and beyond simple financial literacy.
So, Bevon, there's a couple of issues to unpack here. Education typically starts at home, but what if your parents or other generations that live within the home don't have that background themselves? It could be cultural, it could be older generations where perhaps money isn't spoken about as freely as we do, and younger generations as well. So there are a couple questions. How do you overcome that? And if this is an obvious conversation that you and I have had for almost 7 years at this point, why is it not being taught in the school system? Like, where is the disconnect?
Yes, huge disconnect, right? And before I started to do this work, it existed, right? Before we probably were all born, right? What we're doing in New York City and other cities is we're incorporating the parents. Even in my work for the last 10 years, we would have a parent night because the parents were my biggest challenge. Because again, we're trying to break these generational cycles of poverty and a lack of access to opportunities. Education is where it starts, right? Exposing kids to environments like Nasdaq or Wall Street, just to see that it's a real thing, right? And sometimes bringing their parents to that conversation too. So we are also incorporating parents of students coming like once a month, and we have professionals from Wall Street come and talk to them about what we're doing, because we were talking about the students get excited about the markets, excited about talking about crypto and all this stuff, and they take it home and they start talking to the parents about it, and they're like, I don't know what that is.
Right.
Let's talk about something else. So I think that barrier has existed. We are trying to find a way to really break that down and bring the parents and the families into that conversation. Marlon uses a great term from the classroom to the living room.
Right.
Holistic approach. Right, that's the way I think we kind of address that problem.
Well, Marlon, let's continue that conversation some more, because David had brought up a great point about extrapolating things out of your paycheck besides your gross pay. But I think it's even before that. Some people, that might not even be a factor or even a blip on the radar, right? When you're thinking about more basic things from paycheck to paycheck, and if you have multi-generations living within one home, that's a whole other set of variables as well. So, I mean, where do you start?
Yeah, and on top of that, our culture has shifted tremendously. We're living in a more of a transactional culture than ever before, because we have social media that's creating this false demand based on moments in people's lives. So I see X shoes, I want it now, so I'm deferring my savings so I can live. So we have to infuse this into the system, and as we talk about early, often, and everywhere, we have to make sure that STEM is not just science, technology, engineering, and math, but it's also entrepreneurship and financial literacy and other foundational concepts that our children need to just walk around in life. And so it's systemic. We talk about the parents being a block to our children understanding in participating in financial literacy, but our educators often needs that sort of training and professional development themselves, so that they can embrace. Because with Campus Coin, kids are going back to the classroom talking about crypto and investing in Wall Street. If a teacher doesn't have that context of that understanding, the support, and even encourage a student to pursue that interest, then they're stifled in the classroom. So we have to create this awareness and then infuse the information into the system from early, it's got to be, and it's got to be often, and it's got to be everywhere. And we talking about, by that we mean in school, after school, and out of school, which is where Campus Coin comes in.
Right, but so let's think about that, and that was a question I asked Bevon before. Why is this not happening? You have a generation of teachers that are unable to teach it because they weren't taught the basics themselves.
That's right.
That has to be broken.
Yeah.
Well, so this is where we get to policy, right?
Right.
Teachers teach what they're measured on, right? And so they haven't been historically measured on teaching and supporting and promoting financial literacy. So we really have to, we always say, great practice, policy follows great practice. And so with Campus Coin, what we're doing is establishing great practice to now base policy on that. We have to make sure education includes financial literacy. And I was looking at the numbers, and so we have about 25 states now that are saying we're mandating that students participate in financial literacy before they graduate. That is how we're going to shift it, by making it a part of what teachers get measured on.
Right. So what did you say to New York City where they're like, we want to adopt this program?
Right, so I think New York City was great in the sense that they came to the table saying, this is what you guys do, right? We don't have the solution by ourselves, right? But collaboratively, we can do this. They pointed to some of the stuff I've done with Greenwood and stuff like that, and say, hey, how do we do this at scale, right? We're talking about one of the biggest, most diverse public school systems in the country, right? Almost 1 million kids. Right? How do we do this at scale? We are leveraging technology to do that as well. But I think the policy conversation is important because they're pointing to what we're doing as a model that can work everywhere, right? And we have a global vision. We're not just thinking about the United States. This needs to be done everywhere. This needs to be done everywhere. So I think with New York City, they came to that conversation to say, listen, we need to collaborate with corporate America, with Wall Street, with any partners who are bringing that knowledge and expertise and that experience to the table, and make that all about that young person. So I think here we have a unique opportunity, a moment right now to do something really big. We'll talk about more what our vision looks like, but I think that was the unique thing about New York City.
It's also about leadership. The mayor, I'm going to be here back on the 25th. It's a Black Mayors, African American Mayors Association. It's Black Mayors in Tech. Your leader, Eric Adams, has also infused, he wants to be the financial literacy capital of the world. He wants to be the tech capital of the world. So he's made it mandatory, right, for our kids to learn. What is it, 15 hours over here? 15. So we need our leaders across the country, starting from Congress, starting from the president, all the way through the governors, to understand that this is a crisis. And so leadership is also very important.
But that's a smart decision by Mayor Adams and other mayors that have embraced technology. The economy, especially here in New York City, things have evolved now that we're working in a hybrid environment. You can't rely just on office workers to fill that chunk of the GDP. You have to evolve as a technology center and other new economy type of trades, because it's not going to happen relying on commercial real estate and workers commuting into the city. So I think that's smart. So let's talk about this vision in the last few minutes here. What is the outlook, David? I mean, what is next?
We think we have a solution to the problem. It's a three-pronged solution. Again, the problem is our kids aren't learning what they need to, so we're falling behind. Not just at home, right, in school, in the workforce, and as a country. So there's three solutions. Number one, access. We need to get to those kids, right? We need to get to the parents, which is why I'm delighted to be part of this Campus Coin Fest movement, right? Because they reach the kids, they reach the parents, and they reach the teachers. I was there in Queens with 700 children. And there were teachers all over coming to talk to me about graduations, and there were parents all over. And so the first thing is we need to reach them. The second thing is we need to teach them. Reach, teach. And so teaching them means that's what Marlon is doing. He's infusing into these kids the things that they need to know at a very early age. We need to train kids for the jobs that are going to be there when they graduate, not for the jobs that are there now. And the third thing is we need money. We need to finance it. Look, I built an app. When I joined Campus Coin Fest, I built an app, $2.5 million in 2020. It didn't work. 60,000 people were on the sign-up sheet. You know how many of them were underserved? 1%. Everybody else was able to save. And so financial, we need money, right? We need money for Campus Coin Fest to go through America. We're starting, we've done New York, we're going to Chicago, we're going to Port Arthur, Texas, we're going everywhere, right? We need the money to actually do that. We also need the money to fund the education of these kids, right? We need to get these kids to college. We've developed a program where employers can match the college fund of employees' kids, just like a 401k. We have a crisis here, just like the retirement crisis. 401ks solve the problem. Why can't we solve this problem for our kids?
I also think Bevon, there is a level of accountability that has to be met when there is money being allocated to these kinds of programs. But what you said before, the school systems are adopting what the three of you are doing, which makes sense if you think about it as a company.
Yeah.
If you don't have to organically build it and it exists, you guys are small enough to be nimble.
Yeah.
They have the scale, the New York City school system.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I agree. I think we get to do something special here with this pilot. We have a plan to grow this, throughout the city and other cities as well. And these guys will tell you, like everyone we talk to about this is excited to get involved because again, we're bringing a blueprint. We've created a blueprint.
Right.
It didn't exist before. We have the blueprint to make this thing work and do it at scale using technology as well. And we just want to get more folks involved and behind us on this.
Right. But Marlon, one of my things. That's near and dear to me. It needs to be held accountable, audited, so that you're able to quantify it, so that you can build this thing.
That's right. And this can't be seen as altruism.
Right.
It can't just be seen, hey, we're going to take care of those black and brown kids. We have to view this for what it is. It's solid economic development. And with China knocking at the door, we need to make sure we have a foundation where all kids are participating and competing at the global level. And we have to start with financial literacy and entrepreneurship in STEM education. All of those things make us more competitive as a country. So this is not just take care of those kids in these cities. This is about taking care of America by making sure that every single individual child is ready to compete globally.
Right. If you can prove it by New York City's model with over 1 million kids,
That's right.
Yeah.
but again, you need to be able to quantify that. So I'm hoping that it's a partnership, not just here are the services. Let's say we did this, to your point, not just being altruistic, but being accountable.
That's right.
We're throwing all these phrases around, right? Financial intelligence. So I think that it's great work that you guys are doing, and to start with that and also include all the families, I think that's what's key.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think too, we have to be aware of the digital divide. We keep an eye on AI, of course, and how that's affecting what I call underestimated communities in America, right? We're very aware of that. That's top priority for us. For me personally, I don't want our communities to be left behind. And we know with AI and what's happening in the world of work these days, the future of work is looking different by the second. Right, we have to make sure our kids are ready for that as well.
And bro, just one last thing. When we talk about the racial divide, this is not just for black kids.
Right.
And this is just not for white kids. In Campus Coin Fest, when I go to Port Arthur, Texas, Kingston, North Carolina, Union City, Georgia, East Point, Georgia, I see black kids, but I see poor white kids. There's 4.6 million poor white kids in America that need the same, they have the same generational trouble. So we want all the kids, the 12.5 million children in America that are underserved. It's not just black kids. We want black kids too.
Yeah.
And black kids and Hispanic kids, that's where the percentage of poverty is higher. That's why we're starting there. But we want everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, education can be democratized, and that's how you fix it.
That's
right. Throwing money at it, it's educating. That's going to dissolve that wealth gap, is what I believe. All right.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me from MarketSite. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.